When We Were Young, 2024, all album plays. From front to back, we will be listening to 57 records at the festival, and we here at the Emo Social Club are doing it right now.
Yeah, we are. We're getting through it.
On this episode, we are talking about Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. Before we get into our thoughts and opinions on this record, Lizzie, tell us a little bit about Underoath and They're Only Chasing Safety.
They're Only Chasing Safety came out on June 15, 2004 via Solid State Records. This is their fourth album. I thought that this was an earlier album.
It's early in the context of like the emo scene, but they were around for a while.
Yeah. So the singles off of this album were Reinventing Your Exit and It's Dangerous Business Walking Out Your Front Door. And that latter song was also an MTV music video premiere. So we're in that era. Something interesting here. During this album run, they were nominated for a Dove Award, which is Gospel Music Awards for Best Rock Album. So they didn't win. I didn't look up who did win. I'm just going to assume it was probably Skillet. Probably not wrong. I don't know.
It's Anberlin.
Or yeah, one of those two probably.
Yeah.
During this album run, they toured with 18 Visions, Coheed and Cambria, Chariot, and Stretch Armstrong, which that's a band I have not seen that name for a while.
Throwback.
In 2005, they re-released this on Tooth and Nail Records.
Yep.
It also charted for this re-release at 101 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 7 on the Christian albums charts. And it was certified gold in December of 2011.
Well, we're going to tell you what we think about this record, but before we do, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. We are releasing episodes on all 57 records that are being played at the When We Were Young festival, but make sure to subscribe. We have a playlist of all of the episodes that we are doing with this down in the description. Check it out. Let us know what you think about all of those. Your opinions matter here. Not to me, but they matter.
Brian will always respond to you in the comments, so...
I'm trying not to. I'm really trying not to. Here are my thoughts on Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. Underoath is a band that I've loved for a long time. This is a band that has meant kind of a lot to me over the time that they've existed, especially this record. This record for the time when it came out and like me going to college and like getting into this style of music, listening to The Used, My Chem and all that. Underoath opened the Taste of Chaos tour, the first one with My Chem and The Used on it. So this was like kind of probably the first time I'd really heard of them. AP Magazine, obviously also writing about them a lot. So checked them out through that. Was kind of immediately a fan, like really liked it. And anything post-hardcore at the time was kind of it. I listened to the singles on repeat like a lot, like that year, like that of like 2005 or so, 2005, 2006. And the last song, Some Seek Forgiveness, Others Escape, kind of on repeat. It would be on repeat along with Slipknot, which is also a band that I found at that same time. So that was really the dichotomy of the Christian metalcore band and Slipknot. And like those are like two bands that I'm listening to quite a bit. The religious aspect like just never really like meant anything to me. I'm like, well, whatever. Yeah, they say Jesus or whatever. It might be about God. That's cool. It doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I don't care. I'm not religious. I'm not Christian, but the music is really good. So
when it comes to a lot of these Christian or like Christcore bands during this time, I feel that if you listen to a lot of these lyrics, you could get other interpretations very easily.
Yes. They kind of took a hiatus and they came back with their new record and they did a secret show here in Chicago. Tiny little room, 6 people packed onto like this tiny little stage. And it was one of the most intense shows I've ever been to. Like the whole crowd was moving the whole time. They played only like 5 songs. They played like new ones and they played their bangers from this one and they played bangers from their other records. I was kind of in that moment when I was like, holy shit, like Underoath really has been one of those bands that I've listened to for like 15 years, 20 years now. And I'm like, this band really means something. Really means something to me. This record too is like just very important in post-hardcore and metalcore and that Warped Tour scene, like bringing a lot of other bands in the scene along with them. And this was one of those bands that just like was very important for that scene. And especially this record. This record is super important to like the 2004, 2005 era. This is like one of the main albums from that time. Like I love this record. This record is incredible to me. I listened to it. Like I only really had to listen to it once for this because I'd already heard it before. But I'm like, I'm listening to it again. Like I'm putting it on.
I'm gonna do it again. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna do it again. Like why not hear it again? I think that it is so well executed on every level. I think that like being that there are 6 people in the band, It's Spencer's first record with the band. I think that everybody's executing on such a high level. They're writing like really good songs. I think it's like, they're young, they're kids, they're still writing music as kids. But I think that for what it is and for when they did it and for how like the wave kind of caught them, I think this record is just really well done. Really, really is a good performed and written and well done record. It's hard to pick somebody that's doing the best, but I do think Aaron Gillespie is clearly like the standout here. Like, the fact that he is drumming and singing on this record is fucking nuts. Like, he is way too talented for his own goddamn good, and I love it. Great songwriting from him, great lyrical content, great performances across the board. So, yeah, I love this record. I think that it's great that it has lasted 20 years, and I think it's great that Underoath has had such a fantastic career since then. Huge fan of this. My top tracks from Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. We've had a couple episodes with friends and we've talked about records, and it's like I could pick anything. Like,
you're at that level too.
Like, if we had done this with Action Adventure, it would be all of us just like, I could pick any song. Any song is good. You just put on a song, you're like, yep, that's one of the best ones. And the song you're listening to is the best song on the record at the time. I think it's crazy that like Reinventing Your Exit is the main single from this. And I would say that's probably the worst song on the record, which tells you like this record is awesome. This record is incredible because even that song, which is a goddamn banger, top to bottom, great chorus, catchy pop hooks in like a post-hardcore metalcore song for 2004. If that's the worst you can do, everything is going to be so good on this record. So I'm picking 3. It's just 3.
Okay.
I have to pick It's Dangerous Business. That is the best song on this record. Like, it has the poppy chorus. It has really catchy, like, even the screaming parts. I think bands like Bring Me the Horizon have a lot to owe to like what they've done post Underoath. Like, obviously Underoath guests on their new record. So that choral breakdown is like God tier. That's untouchable. I think that it's interesting that no band has really done something like that since, because they know we can't do it that good. That hit where like it all cuts out and it's the choir and then the drums kick back in is like one of the best things that's ever happened in this genre. Straight up. 2 top tier things is like the pre-chorus in Ohio is for Lovers and that breakdown in Dangerous Business. 2 of the like best musical moments from the emo scene.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't feel very receptive today. This is one that like I think I've come back to a lot over time. I think it's just a really good rockin' hardcore song on this one. I think it's one where they do a little bit less of the poppier stuff and they do a little bit more of the heavier stuff, which as they go forward in their career, that's where they kind of lean more into, is being more heavy and less melodic. This is their more melodic and poppy record. And I think this is one of those ones that kind of goes into their future stuff and yeah, just takes you there in on this record. And I put Some Will Seek Forgiveness, Others Escape, because that song is one I've listened to like probably a million times in the time that since it's been out. Like, I've had that on repeat before. I think the build into like the big rock ending from a ballad that is more like electronic and acoustic based until it reaches that like really big climax where like Spencer comes right in screaming Jesus at you. But I think that is it's a moment that a lot of bands do. I think that Underoath does it in their own way in a really good like ballad rock ending. I think it's a great way to end the record and I love it a lot. So yeah, even though it's the most Jesus on the record, I love that song.
Wow. I mean, you got to get a little Jesus in there for you.
Little Jesus.
Just a little
you
Jesus.
Gotta get a little Jesus.
Just a little baby Jesus.
We're having a little Jesus. Little Jesus is coming to the party.
I just keep thinking of Talladega Nights. Like, thank you, good Lord, little baby Jesus.
Yeah. Thank you. 6 pound, 8 ounce, little baby Jesus. Lying in a manger. My least favorite track from Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. None, obviously. This record is, it's 10 songs, 36 minutes. So like a perfect length of a record, the perfect number of songs. I think most of them are like 4-ish minutes or so. But like what they do in those 4 minutes is what most post-hardcore metalcore bands do, is they have like the breakdowns, they have the screaming parts, they have the singing parts. They execute all of them just like the same way throughout them. So like there's nothing different about any song. And I think they bring all of those pieces so well between all of them that it's like, how can you pick one that's worse than the other? And like I said, like I think Reinventing is the weakest song on this record and it's still top 10. It's really good. So like if that's the worst you can do, then nothing's going to be bad on this record. That's it. It's a great record. And we've had our friends come on and say, I'm now being told to pick a bad one, and I'm like, yeah, I almost deleted the section for me because I'm like, there's no bad.
I was wondering if you were going to, honestly.
There's no bad song on this record. I'm just saying it because I want to let everybody know there's no bad songs on Underoath. They're only chasing safety, and I will. I'll repeat it if you need me to.
That's crazy.
If anybody says anything different, present company included, I will repeat it.
Company included.
We'll see what fucked shit Liz is about to get into.
Here are my thoughts on Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. I was aware of like Christ's core when I was like in late middle school, early high school. So that's like 2006 to 2009 area, like prime sweet spot, 7th, 8th grade to like early high school, like freshman year. So I was aware of like Skillet because of Wings Club AMVs that had Whispers in the Dark. And then on the side, it's like, if you like this, you'll like...
You'll like Underoath if you like Skillet.
So they would have it, and I remember seeing Underoath and being aware of them, like just in the scene by just like Googling research. So I listened to it, and at the time, it like wasn't what I was looking for in music. I didn't like anything that had that much screaming in it when I was younger. Like I used to not really be into Bring Me the Horizon at all until recently, and then going back and re-listening to a lot more. I'm like, I understand and I like it now. For me, it was more revisiting Underoath and being like, no, I understand why this is good. We've interviewed them. We've seen them multiple times.
They are one of the best live bands.
Yeah, they were so fun. I was like, oh my God. This was kind of my first listen, and to fully understand what it was, I was like, okay, most of these are 4 minutes. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, these are only 10 songs.
Yeah.
And upon listening to this album a lot more, it's very of that time. So because I'm someone who's previously listened to other acts, like also another kind of Christcore band, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. If you like this band, you like this band.
That makes less sense to me, but
Listen, again, YouTube algorithm and Hawthorne Heights. It reminds me of If Only You Were Lonely, Hawthorne Heights, and majority of like early Red Jumpsuit. So I really did like it, and obviously you can crucify me if you want. You're like, this came out first. Okay, I was a child. Bye.
What was the date on this again?
2004.
But what was the calendar, like the month?
June.
So technically this came out at the like exact same month. Yeah, because it's 20 years right now. So they're posting that. So 2 weeks ago was Hawthorne Heights. 1 week ago was Three Cheers.
That's so crazy.
And this week is They're Only Chasing Safety. Fucking wild week.
Mega
a wild
energy.
week in history,
wow,
man.
really? Like June was really popping for releases.
Right? I guess it was going on Warped Tour because all of them did Warped Tour that year. So, yeah, all of them did Warped Tour that year.
Okay.
So it was like, we got to get it out because we're going on tour the summer.
Like, got to get these emo bangers on.
That's a wild
Get on
week.
there. Damn,
Yeah.
I was really only 9 years old and missing out.
Yeah.
These are my top songs from Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety. I was somewhat aware of the singles, but not really, because I've heard them and I've seen them and I'm aware, but I never really like put it together really, just because I never really listened to them. Once I Googled and looked at it and I already had my liked ones that I do already on Spotify, I went back and I was like, okay, I'm going to take out the singles just so I don't have the singles in there. So I really like the opening track, Young and Inspiring. So and the thing is, like we keep saying, if you have a really banger opening track, legally, the rest of the album is fire. And if it sucks, then I can sue you for misrepresentation of the product.
True.
This has that like ideal early 2000s metalcore sound that nostalgia purposes and looking back, and especially as somebody who didn't really listen to that, I want to be able to relive these moments that I never got to live. This is like quintessential. Like I would put this on a playlist with probably a bunch of other bands that we have talked about already and that we haven't talked about. So this is what I'm looking for. Somebody said I want to listen to like OG metalcore. We would probably put this song on there, and it was just like a light bulb would click. My second song is I'm Content with Losing. It's a little bit brighter, and I feel like the clean vocals and the screams are really balanced out here. Like it is a back and forth. It's a conversation basically.
Yes.
And I really do like that. And I feel that this is a more approachable track as well if you're trying to introduce somebody to metalcore, where you have the screaming elements, you have a lot of heavier instrumentation, but you kind of lighten it up a little bit with Aaron Gillespie's vocals. And I think they're able to kind of bring it through really well. This also reminds me of the vocals that Craig Owens does on Bone Palace Ballet.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And I stopped and I said, wait. Like, I was thinking in my head for like a good 5 minutes. I'm like, what song does this remind me of? And I'm like, is the progression of a Cannibal uses a fork?
Again, another band that owes a lot to Underoath. Chiodos owes a lot to Underoath. Really paving the way for bands like that.
There we go.
Any band that has screaming and singing in it. I mean, obviously this has 2 vocalists that do it like side by side. So any band that has that owes a lot to Underoath for like paving the way for them. But certainly bands like Chiodos, like being able to do a little bit more proggy stuff in the same style. Like, yeah, of course. It's like if you heard Chiodos and you're like, man, I hope this is on the side of their thing. It's like, have you heard Underoath? And you're like, no, let me check it out. It's like, oh, Underoath. They did it first.
Like, oh, damn.
I did it first.
And then my third is Down, Set, Go. The clean vocals really stand out here and kind of shows this dynamic range that Aaron Gillespie has. This is going to make some sense to some people, but it's not going to make sense to other people. You know that quintessential, like, not like whiny 2000s, like Dream Boy voice.
Dream Boy?
Yeah, like if I'm thinking of it in like a more pop manner, you're always like, oh, you want these approachable, yet something that people are going to be like, oh, they sing well. They must also be like the it guy. And that was like the best way I could say it. It's like this dreamy emo boy type of vibe.
Yeah, okay.
And like if you compare it to like pop music at the time, marketing wise, that's what it reminded me of. It mixes up their sound a little bit with it, but it doesn't compromise the integrity of the rest of the album. Like, it makes sense that it fits there. Yeah. Where we've done a lot of other album reviews where we're like, why is this here? It just kind of mucked up the rest of everything you had here.
Yeah.
This makes sense for it. And again, I feel like this one could be a potential approachable track for somebody who may not be in the scene, or somebody who's a little bit like, I'm not too sure. Let me see what's not super over the top.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
My least favorite tracks from Underoath, They're Only Chasing Safety. So the one that really stood out to me that I was like, I just really don't care much for it. And I had to revisit it a couple of times to like really say, like, do I not like this for whatever reason it is? And I did. And it was, some will seek forgiveness, others escape.
No.
It has that weird synth vibe in the back. And I usually love synth, but this one sounded very generic and recycled. And I said, what does this sound like? It sounds like they used Find a Way with that similar sync that's in the background. And I also am like kind of iffy on that song because that weird synth sync is in there. No. It just really didn't do anything for me. It's like the final song in the album, and it's like when you're writing an article, you're supposed to end with your strongest quote or sentence, and you didn't.
That's not the same case in music. A lot of them end with like their most experimental stuff. They end with their longest songs. They end with their ballads. So not in music. You're going to have to tell Chris you don't like his synths. So you have to look Chris in the eye and tell him that
your
you didn't
other
like
synths are great. Just not this one.
You're going to have to tell Chris to his face that you don't like the last song on this record and that it's
tried.
all his fault for doing it.
I made an attempt.
The answer should have been 0 tracks are
Damn,
bad on this record.
That's so crazy, bestie.
0 tracks are bad.
It's like we're not the same person.
You yell at me whenever I say song is bad on a record. You're like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, you're wrong.
Uh-huh.
Those are our thoughts on Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety, but we are not the only ones with thoughts on this record. Many other people listen to it. This is a very popular record. So we went out and we found some reviews from Amazon.com. We found some reviews written by critics from around that time. And we're going to let you know what some other people think about this record as well. So because of the fact that I love this record so much and will not say anything negative about it at all, I only found mostly negative reviews from Amazon.
Okay.
Of which there were only like a few, and mainly because they were upset about the change from the previous singer, Dallas Green, into Spencer Chamberlain.
Okay.
So it's a lot of people who were just upset at the lineup changes and were saying, this isn't the same band anymore and all that stuff. So a lot of it's that. But I found some entertaining ones, I guess.
Love it.
They were negative ones because I'm like, this record's too good. Like, what can you ever say? This is a review by Wise Guy. Written on October 18th, 2005. 2 stars. Christian/metal. This CD isn't horrible, but most of the songs sound very similar. They all pretty much start off with light singing and then go off with rapid screaming. Although some sound pretty good / okay, that's because they are very alike. Besides, you can't have too much of a different sound when the basis of every song is screaming. I also don't really understand if this band is Christian or metal, because you can't be both. Christian music is supposed to be for God, and that's it. There's a difference between Christian music and singing about God every once in a while. It's supposed to have a sound of peace, not rampage. I've got no problem with metal or screamer bands, but if these guys are actually Christian, then they have got to commit to it. If not, they could be disrespecting God. All I'm saying is that they need to do a better job of reaching their fans and trying to get them to follow God as well. I saw some reviews on here where the people were cursing out anybody who didn't like the album. Doesn't that pretty much go against everything that Christian music is trying to say? Christian music is supposed to have a message, and the people in the band are supposed to spread the message. But about 70% of their fans probably have never read a full page in the Bible. This whole metal Christian thing is rather ironic. When you hear these guys screaming, God is not the first thing you think about. Besides, I've never been to a church that actually allows this music to be played there. Anyway, Young and Aspiring and A Boy Brushed Red are some okay good songs, but overall this album isn't anywhere above average. So, first of all, yes, you can have a band that is Christian and metal.
They have a whole subgenre for it, actually. But this is so crazy.
This is like the Christian who's just like, you have to be spreading the gospel with everything. And although like these bands were praying on stage and making what is essentially mainstream music that can be interpreted as not Christian and enjoyed by people who are not Christian, like myself, I'm like, I don't care about that, but I am enjoying the music. And this guy is saying, that's the problem. You're not converting enough people to Christianity because you're screaming. And you got to stop all the screaming. Bring peace to the people. Be with God.
No.
Go forth and prosper. That's Star Trek.
I was about to say, and that's not...
This review is by Amazon Customer.
Wow.
Written on October 4th, 2011. 1 star. Now, this review is entirely sarcastic. Not about the rating. The rating they're correct on. It's the rest of it that is sarcastic.
Okay.
This band is so heavy. I like bands that only scram and chug. I love metal and all things metal. But lately I've noticed that stupid posers are talking crap about my taste in music, telling me I should listen to Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Queensryche because they know how to sing. Ha, what a complete joke. If Iron Maiden was so good, why aren't they on MTV? This Underoath band is so heavy, I love when the singer screams. It shows how heavy the band is. Who cares if they sound like every other band, or cry like a little girl, or play the same 2 riffs throughout the entire song? It's heavy.
Oh my God.
For those of you who want real metal, ditch Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpses, and Decapitated. Stick with Underoath. They are heavy. I'm reporting this.
I'm reporting. You're so mad. It's from 2011.
I'm reporting it for being fake.
So for some critic reviews on Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety, I picked 2. So I found one that's very favorable and one that is not.
Good.
And we're going to start with the one that is not. This is from Sputnik Music. 2.5 out of 5 stars by Damrod.
Damrod.
2004. And this is the 3rd review on this site of this album. Damrod really starts this off with, it's not the worst album I have heard in my life, that's for sure, but also not the best. Overall, the musical work is solid. The rhythm section does good in laying down a good basis. The vocals, keys, electronics, and guitars can build upon. The guitars do a good job, as does the singer, no matter if he is singing or screaming. Well, accents are set here and there with keys, samples, and electronics. Damrod doesn't know how to write.
No.
Though the musical work is solid, it cannot convince me completely. This is mainly because the sound is so similar to many other bands popular in the genre. What differs from named bands, though, are the somewhat Christian lyrics. After all, the word Christcore is used often in context with Underoath, and I felt myself indeed like in church on 1 or 2 songs. Catchiness can become a problem. If a song is too catchy, it can bore pretty fast.
That doesn't make sense to me at all.
And some of the catchier tunes on this record suffer from the same problem.
Yeah, I would hate to have a song that I really like listening to because it gets really boring after a while.
I just bob my head. I can't believe I can bop my head to a song. That's so terrible.
You ever hear a song and you're like, that's great, I hate it?
And of course, the lack of individual sound. To whom could this album be recommended? To the diehard Underoath fan, for sure. But beyond that, not for many. I think if one likes stuff like The Used, which The Used and Hawthorne Heights are in quotation marks, but they're real bands.
Interesting.
But apparently they're just thoughts that we have all made up collectively as a subgenre group. This might prove to be a suiting alternative for a while if one gets a bit bored of the other band's albums, or if you want to renew the reasons why you like those bands. After all, this album is a nice listen for a while. In my opinion, if you're into modern screaming pop rock. For lasting entertainment, I prefer other stuff.
I just think it's funny when reviewers are like, the only person I'd recommend this to is if you really like this band. It's like, okay. Thank you. Well, thanks for helping me with that one.
Listen, they're in quotation marks, so they may not actually exist.
These bands don't exist, but it's like, oh, you should listen to this band if you like this band already.
This next one, we revisit our friends at JesusFreakHideout.com.
Of course. You are looking it up for these Christian bands, aren't you? It's some of the main ones.
It's some of the main ones. We have to see both sides.
We have to see the Jesus and the Freak and the Hideout.
Yeah, the Jesus Freak is hype.
Will somebody match my Jesus Freak? I'm trying to find my own Jesus Freak hideout, you know what I'm saying?
Brian Fernandez gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and this was reviewed in July of 2004. They're Only Chasing Safety has nothing to do with making a safe follow-up record because this record is more than just progressive songwriting. Instead, it leans more towards experimentation with tracks like the poppy, radio-friendly Reinventing Your Exit and the well-structured It's Dangerous Business Walking Out Your Front Door, which uses a children's choir during the bridge and electronic percussion. But the standout track of the record is Some Will Seek Forgiveness While Others Escape, featuring guest vocals from Aaron Marsh of Copeland. Overall, They're Only Chasing Safety is Underoath's finest effort to date. Mixing hardcore elements with explosive vocals and passionate lyrics, this album deserves all the hype it has received. This could possibly be the best hard rock record to come out this year and deserves a listen from all hard rock fans.
No lies told.
Josh Taylor says, They're Only Chasing Safety is gaining mainstream attention for a reason. Underoath's latest is easily accessible to those not even interested in the genre. A few may cry foul because it is not quite as heavy as previous ventures, but They're Only Chasing Safety is hands down one of the best releases of 2004.
Good job, Jesus Freak. Hideout.
Who's going to match my
Who's going to match my Jesus Freak? All right. Well, we've heard from us. We've heard from them. We now have to answer the question that's on everyone's mind. Everybody we've read and everybody we've talked to about this, we got to answer this question for them. Should you see Underoath's They're Only Chasing Safety at When We Were Young 2024? Like with many of the records that we're finding out as we go through them this year, they're doing a tour on this record for the 20-year anniversary. So I would like to see it at the fest because I love Underoath. I've seen them as often as I can. They're so good live. So like it's worth seeing this. If you've never seen them, never seen this album in full, or you love this record, I definitely recommend it. They are fun to watch. They're a great band, but also because there is a tour happening later in the year, if you have to miss it and they're coming around where you live, go to that too. Obviously, I think we prefer to see these albums in their own environment and when it's really like their gig and their show. But I do think, like, you know, it's a 36-minute record. They'll have time to play the whole thing. So, you know, I'll try.
I've seen them often, but I think because they are doing a tour, I'd rather see them where it's a little bit more honed into what it is, especially with a fest that large. And there is a lot of artists that I either have never seen live that I would really want to probably prioritize over others. But if you haven't seen Underoath and like your one chance to do it is at the festival, I highly encourage you to do it because they put on a fantastic performance on stage. And I think that this is a really good album and it will be really good to see live.
So that's our thoughts. That's where we'll be at When We Were Young. Where will you be at When We Were Young? These were our thoughts, but what are your thoughts? What do you think about this record? Did you like it? Are we right? Are we wrong? We're right. But if you think we're wrong, that's great. I think that's really cool for you. And I think that you should sort that out on your own time because we're not here to help you with that. But let us know in the comments, whatever your thoughts are. Remember to subscribe because we have all of the albums that are being played at the festival, all 57 of them. They are coming out on this channel. They will be in a playlist down below. We have extended versions of all of these episodes that are available for YouTube members and on our Patreon if you would like to go check those out. They do exist over there. They are available to you for just the low cost of $1 to help keep the lights on at the Emo Social Club. But until When We Were Young, until Underoath, until They're Only Chasing Safety, we'll see you there.